Marvel Spider-Man 2 gameplay is here, and we have fresh details right from PlayStation. If you missed this trailer, it debuted during the PlayStation Showcase, and I do have my own thoughts. I've already done a live stream about why I found it to be a pretty weak showcase, but the Spider-Man gameplay trailer for Spider-Man 2 was obviously very impressive. Now, before I go to the details, I just want to give you my quick thoughts on what we saw and what I thought. First, the abilities, I think, are really, really incredible. I liked seeing this. I sort of speculated based on some rumors that we heard that that's how they would ratchet up Spider-Man 2. They would give you symbiote abilities to really change the combat. But not just that, they've given Miles a whole host of new abilities. We'll read through that in the PlayStation blog. They've also given Miles an incredible upgrade to his speed. When you see him sort of traversing through the city, he's practically flying and gliding as well. It looked really, really fun. I did think that was a nice upgrade to just traversal through the city, because the web swinging is fun, but it can get a little long in the tooth after doing it through 2 games already. And the graphics, there's a lot of people saying that this looks like a PlayStation 4 game. They don't think it's that impressive. I really don't think they're looking that closely. I also think people tend to watch streams and they forget there's a lot of bitrate issues going on. There's a lot of compression issues. If you watch it later on an iPhone or a really nice computer monitor and you turn up the graphics up to 4K, however high they let you, wherever you're watching it, I encourage you to watch it on the official PlayStation channel. You're going to notice a huge uptick in the graphics from the last games, and here you can get a little sample of just how fast Miles in. As I said, he's practically flying. Now, I also want to talk about the story, because it seems like we're in for a good story with respect to Peter and Miles. However, I do think Kraven is a bit of a silly villain, like he's looking for people that he wants to fight, and he comes to New York. That's not quite as serious of a tone as I was hoping for, but it does look like there's going to be an undercurrent of serious tone with the symbiote sort of messing with Peter. He sounds very aggressive. Props to the voice actor. He's doing a great job sort of changing his attitude and demeanor. I picked up on those cues. I thought that was excellent, and I definitely think that's going to be the better part of the story from what I could tell. So, a ton of praise to the voice acting teams behind these games, because they bring them to life. Now, let's look at the new details in this blog from PlayStation, because there's a lot to come over here. There's a lot of new things in the game that you might have picked up on. I'm going to, skip over the fluff and just start here. Many sharp-eyed Spidey fans noticed in our announcement trailer in 2021, Kraven the Hunter. Like, people picked up on the fact that he was there. This version makes his debut appearance in Marvel Spider-Man 2, and he is in search of an equal. That spells bad news for the inhabitants of Marvel's New York, including a rogue gallery of villains and the Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Miles Morales. They actually show Wraith, and they show the various people that are going to be in the city that are going to be included as well. They show that right in the beginning. Between the start of Kraven's Great Hunt and an all-new symbiote threat on Earth 1048, our heroes have their work cut out for them. So I think it's possible that Venom's sort of a looky-loo. I already said that a couple of times, almost how Kingpin was just sort of the beginning opening sequence. So maybe we fight him very early on, and that's how Peter ends up with it in his suit. Setting the stage for our gameplay reveal, Kraven's Hunters, a new enemy faction, are in pursuit of Dr. Kurt Connors, aka the Lizard, and Peter needs to stop him. We kick things off at Connors' home across the East River in Queens, one of the all-new playable and explorable boroughs we're introducing in Marvel Spider-Man 2. That was something else I noticed, is you're not always just going to be in the city. You could be in smaller neighborhoods, more stripped-down, scaled fighting. That's probably some of the reason they've changed traversal and abilities, because you don't have all those high-rises, to swing on and use. So let's get symbiotic. We don't waste any time. Bursting through basement doors is Peter Parker, our original Spider-Man in this story, who needs no introduction, but what he's wearing perhaps deserves one. He's donning the highly coveted, iconic, and beloved black suit, and he's more than ready for a fight. I think it just looks excellent. I think the way they did the animations look incredible. Very, very good fluidity. It looks awesome. This is something that I think people are completely missing and misrepresenting when they say it doesn't look any different than the last game. If you just watched the symbiote animations alone, I think you're sort of kidding yourself, and I would even maybe say being a little dishonest. I think always when these game trailers come out, there are people who just misrepresent and hate, and I've always found it to be a bit annoying. I'm not saying you have to to be in love with it, but acknowledging the uptick in graphical fidelity, fluidity, and quality is more of an objective acknowledgement. I don't care if you're not impressed, but acknowledge that they've really upticked this game from the last one. Beyond serving looks, our symbiote-bound hero has some new tricks up his sleeve. We're no stranger to Spider-Man knocking heads, but never like this. He's much more aggressive, and punches certainly aren't being pulled. Symbiote tendrils aggrandize Spider-Man's silhouette, slamming foes hard against surfaces, dealing no mercy to Kraven's hunters. My advice, get cozy with the L1 button because you're gonna love it. The super popular suit can strike fear in almost anyone who comes face to face with it, but Kraven isn't just anyone, and his highly trained hunters aren't afraid of a brawl. Fret not, new combat abilities can neutralize our new headstrong opponents with a little finesse. Strike back with aggressive parries to gain the upper hand, or cast a web to shunt enemies between a hard place and a harder place. I like the idea that they're bringing a very different style. Like if you're going to be using aggressive parries, that sounds fun. It should distinguish the two, Miles and Peter, from each other. You can also activate a classic dodge to get out of danger, but don't get too comfortable. Some attacks can't simply be dodged and will require a parry to properly evade them. That's a nice uptick in difficulty as well, to say we're not just going to sort of introduce parries. You got to use them to get away. I know there was elements of parry in the first two games, but not quite like that. Our animators put in the work to deliver a much more impulsive Peter Parker, fitting for the symbiote bonded to his person without sacrificing his combative finesse. New takedowns humble even the most rugged enemies, and new combat animation push Spider-Man's limits. I mean, did you see what Spider-Man did to this guy? This, I think, is just another good example of the types of animations that we're getting, the type of work that they're putting in, and just the level of detail even on Peter's new suit. In Marvel Spider-Man 2, we're putting respect on the black suit and giving it the story it deserves. In this installment, we're really delving into Peter's personal relationship with the symbiote and how it affects those closest to him. Many people were saying, oh, I wonder if he's going to become the bad guy, or maybe at some point they take it away from you. I don't think they'd be able to do that. If it's a primary source of your new combat and your new abilities, I don't think they could take them away from Peter. I also don't think you could take Peter away from the player, at least not for an extended period of time. I could see there being a point in time where you're primarily playing as Miles for the sake of the story, but I don't see those abilities going away. Peter will likely master them because they're not going to want to feel downgraded later in the game, like, oh, I lost all those cool abilities that I had in the beginning. Now, let's not forget about Miles. Speaking of which, this sequel features not one but two playable Spider heroes, as Miles Morales returns in Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and is a key player in our story. In this demo, Miles is in Harlem, hot on Lizard's tail. Speed is of the essence in many ways than one. You can see here the gliding that they've given him. I think it looks awesome. His suit looks great. First, get a glimpse at the near instant switching between both our playable Spider-Men. This is obviously a benefit of the PS5 and the speed with which there's no load times. If you got used to Ghost of Tsushima loading screens when you would fast travel, and then they pushed out that update, they're gone. It doesn't matter how many times you fast travel or how far you fast travel, and they're utilizing that in this. And if that wasn't enough, traversal gets a significant speed boost in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Cue the web wings, which can be deployed by either Spider-Man to move about the city swiftly and urgently. It can be deployed by either of them. Use wind tunnels between skylines to move with haste, and behold the capabilities of the PS5 console's SSD as you soar above the concrete jungle, zipping past all manner of cars, buildings, and people and pigeons. Once again, so not just switching characters is powered by the SSD, but the speed with which you move through the city, because that's a feat to move through such large scale areas so quickly. So again, the people saying this doesn't look any better than the last game, I find that to be a dishonest take. That feels like an intentional slam on a game that you either can't play, or maybe you're just playing for the other team. Again, I really encourage people to watch these trailers on your own device, your own monitor, as a video at 4K, as opposed to watching just the stream. If you thought traversal in our first two games was exhilarating, just wait until you experience it firsthand in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Bringing down the warehouse. After a brief flight across town, Miles has tracked Connors inside the Harlem's fish market. By the looks of it, Kraven's hunters are making a move on him, so it's just in time to clear him out. And you can see some of the new things that Miles can do here. In Marvel Spider-Man fashion, players can approach encounters with stealth or fists of fury, or both. Regardless of your approach, there are new gadgets and abilities that complement different playstyles. One of the new gadgets we're excited about is the web line, a new way to sneak around the environments to get the drop on enemies. I did like this. I know people people will feel like that's a pretty minor upgrade, but that does, I think, afford a lot of great opportunities to be more sneaky. In the first game, if you kind of ran out of places to go up above, it was just like, well, time to go down, and this enables you to play more stealthily if that's sort of your approach. Cast a line over a couple hunters and watch Spider-Man perform dual takedowns, a Marvel's Spider-Man first. The dual takedowns, even the one triple thing that grabbed all three of them, was really, really exciting. It looks like Miles is going to be perhaps a little bit more gadget-driven since he doesn't have the symbiote. Like his mentor before him, Miles Morales has some new abilities and gadgets at his disposal. On the gadget front, we showed off the Web Grabber, a new gadget that pulls enemies together to an isolated spot. This allows Miles to chain one of his new abilities, the Thunderburst, unleashing an electrifying ground pound against a group of foes. You also saw a glimpse of the Chain Lightning ability, which has a shocking radius effect to nearby enemies. Great shot here. Really, man, this game looks absolutely incredible. Insomniac does wonders with their property. Between Peter's new symbiote abilities and Miles' newfound blue bioelectric powers, each Spider-Man has their own unique set of skills that can be upgraded via all new individual skill trees. So it sounds like one's getting symbiote and one's getting blue bioelectric power, a diversion or a change from sort of the stuff that he had in the last game. Miles had all the yellow electricity, right? And that was really fun. It set him apart from the first game. Our heroes share technology and train together too, so we also included a shared skill tree that offers parallel upgrades for both. That's nice. The Lizard's in the details. As Miles tracks Lizard through the fish market, our environments are sure to activate your spidey senses. Our world is richer, denser, and packed with details from particles to improved textures. Lighting also gets an upgrade, casting more dramatic shadows and reflections along walls and pipes. Meanwhile, spatial 3D audio creates unique soundscapes all around you. Again, I highly encourage people to watch that segment where Miles is tracking him. The lighting is very impressive. I'm telling you, if you compare this to the last game, saying they look the same is so disingenuous. It bears on just blatant dishonesty. Further, we're upping the immersion in Marvel's Spider-Man 2 with our signature use of DualSense wireless controller, including a range of haptics and spectacular use of the adaptive triggers. That's not surprising. I like when they do that. Some people think it's a gimmick. I actually like it quite a bit. Whether you're sneaking through interiors, exploring our city streets, Marvel's New York is brought to life in ways only possible on the PlayStation 5 console. Here is the pair together. Be greater together. Working together, the Spider-Man must pursue Lizard and fight the hunters who seek his capture. Unfortunately for them, Kraven is well equipped. Boats, aerial transport, and weapons are all eyes on Lizard. This is another section of the game that I thought was really fun that they took to the water. Really different than, chasing cars down the street. It added a whole new element of takedowns and pursuit that felt a little bit different than navigating cityscapes and high-rises. The Great Hunt continues along the East River. One of the new areas you can traverse is Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and the action is tight. Miles dismantles vehicles in his wake while Peter Parker leads the chase from afar. You'll seamlessly switch between both Spider-Man across a variety of story moments in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. So it sounds like that's not going to be something you just do for the fun of it. There'll be moments where you do it. We want players to get back in iconic team-ups elevated by our signature set-piece moments and experience the story from the perspective of each Spider-Man. So I know there's going to be some team-ups in some of those co-op sequences that we saw in the original trailer. That's likely why the voice actor thought co-op was in the game, because he recorded lines for those moments. There's no combination of words that can wholly convey how excited we are to finally show you Marvel Spider-Man 2 after all this time. We're excited to give you the first ever glimpse at what we've been working on all these years, and we hope you're as thrilled as we are. We know you have been patiently awaiting more information about the game, including when you'll be playing it at home. While we can't confirm a date today, we're on track for fall 2023 and hope to be able to share a final release date soon. Stay tuned for future updates on Marvel Spider-Man 2, including edition information and pre-orders. I welcome this decision. I know people were disappointed with the lack of a release date, but I welcome the decision to not give us one that they then have to walk back. They're like, hey, we're on pace for the fall, so we're just going to have to wait. They did the same thing with Ragnarok, right? We waited a long time for that release date. I could even see that release date coinciding with a state of play or another lengthy blog or maybe another just good video, a release date announcement trailer. They finally drop it, and then we know when it's coming. It's better to do that than to put dates out there that have to be walked back, as that has been so common as of late. So as it stands, I think Spider-Man 2 is still, I said this, I think it could steal Game of the Year, and from what we've seen, this is a huge upgrade from the last game, which is what I said would be necessary to even be considered for the Game of the Year podium. So I think it gets up on the podium. The question is, can it actually topple the giant that is Zelda? Once people get their hands on the game and can do technical breakdowns and use that photo mode, and Digital Foundry chops it up, and the review circuit takes it, through the ringer, I think we might end up having a game that does rival Zelda. I don't think the competition's over, and I think they sent a loud and clear message with this trailer. Even though if it landed at the end of a disappointing showcase, I think that even kind of hurt everybody's attitude about the trailer. I didn't want to let myself be excited because I was so disappointed with the lack of first-party presence. It was like, really, you're going to make us wait this long, and this is all we're getting? So it was hard to be appreciative, but the more I've watched the trailer, the more excited that I get, especially after reading these brand new details. So, as always, if you like these videos, hit subscribe, hit the bell button. I'll see you in the next one.